Hello everyone, back to today's third video. So we're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. So today's third video, which will take us around the 13th of March. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles running to around a couple of weeks. So we'll have a look at the CFSB2 at the end of the video the next 4 weeks, which takes us pretty much to the end of March. We've got the data read now from the UK Met climate averages for both February and for the winter, so I'll have a quick skip through that. And then I'll get on with the week to 10 day segment of video for you after that. Just to say that the first video release day was the ECM WF 30-day look ahead, as always on a Tuesday for the UK and the rest of Europe as well. And also releasing GasWeathers.com March 2020 forecast as well. So it's been a busy old day at GasWeathers today. Hope you've been enjoying all of the videos and all of the content too. Right, so we're going to start off with the situation in February. So this is how the temperature anomaly looks for February 2020, set against 81 2010 averages. So for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it was just a little bit above average. Actually, it's northern part of Scotland coming out close to average. Further south, it was a milder than average month, though quite substantially so. Most places coming out between around 1 and 2 degrees above average. Milder than that in the southeast corner, it's over 2.5 degrees above average. That's 81 to 2010 as well, the more modern and warmer average down in that southeastern corner. Also, an exceptionally wet month, of course, in February. We know that was going to happen. And yes, turns out that this February was the wettest on record, breaking the previous record from February 1990. So, wettest February on record. Most parts of the country having over 200% of their average rainfall. Just the far east of Scotland sticking out there, close to average precipitation. And also far southeast of England, around East Anglia, or the east of East Anglia, not quite as wet there, around 150% of average, but overall exceptionally wet and very mild February. And of course that follows on from what was a very mild winter as well. So this is how the overall winter 2019-2020 temperature anomaly comes out. You see we're all bathed in those red colours, so northern parts of the country, Scotland, Northern Ireland, we're around a degree or so above average there, but for England and Wales actually we're in the red and deep red colour, so some parts of the East Midlands, East Anglia, over 2 degrees above average for this winter. More widely between 1.5 and 2 degrees above average. So yes, an exceptionally mild winter. And also very wet as well. This is a precipitation anomaly. Most places having a wetter than average winter, except for eastern Scotland, the far northeast of England. There it's a little bit drier than average, with around 90% of their average rainfall, maybe even down to 70% for the far east of Scotland. But that aside, most parts of the country, again, coming out with above average precipitation, somewhere between around 130 and 170% of their average. So a very mild and also a very wet winter, and an exceptionally wet, record-breakingly wet February, and a mild February as well. We'll be reviewing the GasWeathers.com winter 2019-2020 forecast some point in the next few days. Could be like Friday towards the end of the week, maybe over the weekend. When we get a bit of time, we'll have a review of the winter forecast. And we didn't do very well with winter forecast. I think that goes without saying, but we shall see. Anyway, when we review the forecast towards the end of the week or over the weekend, maybe. And as far as March is concerned, these are the 500 millibar, these are the upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles, I should say, for the next couple of weeks. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London at our wetter central. We are a little bit below average at the moment. Temperature is going to tick up a little bit tomorrow and then drop down again as we go through the rest of this week into the weekend. Early next week, we get a push of milder southwesterly winds. Temperatures lift up for the early part of next week, and then beyond that, just quite a bit of scatter through the second week of March into the middle of the month, coming out quite close to average, but that does offset these milder upper air temperature on some members up here and the colder ones that we've got down there. So that's the reason that overall the ensemble mean is quite close to average. I think it looks a little bit milder through the second week of March up to the middle of the month compared to like this first week of the month. Precipitation wise, so quite a bit of rain coming up tomorrow, some parts of the country and into start of Thursday. Then it'll go drier after that towards the end of the week, but over the weekend it turns a bit showery. And then next week, just looking showery, really. So, looks like we haven't got anything too alarming to go at here from a rainfall perspective, but never truly settling down. It still doesn't look like it's truly going to settle down for the time being. They are regular rainfall spikes, albeit they aren't overly dramatic, so we're not going to see a real deluge, I don't think, in the next week to 10 days. But certainly it remains relatively unsettled up to the middle part of March. Temperature anomalies from the 3rd to the 11th of March, a bit below average, slightly cooler than average on this western side of Europe. It's not a big deviation for us, but it is a little bit on the cooler than average side. Precipitation anomalies varying from area to area, so through this central swathe, it's actually a little bit drier than average. Northern Ireland, Northern England, northwest parts of Scotland near normal precipitation there, and further south through like Wales and Midlands, East Anglia near normal precipitation there before it goes drier again down across southern parts of England. So a lot of variation to precipitation in the next few days, telling us we're in a showery scenario. So obviously with showers, they're hit and miss. Some places could get quite a bit of rain from those showers if they happen to have 2 or 3 days that have a lot of showers. Other areas might miss the showers and have a relatively dry week. It's that kind of pattern that we're going into now. So as opposed to continuous copious amounts of rain for everyone, we're into more of a hit and miss showery type scenario, really. That's how the GFS is looking for Saturday. So on Saturday, we are building up a little bit of a ridge of high pressure from the southwest. We've got quite a cold northerly wind then as well. Now, having a go at building a Scandinavian high. I haven't seen one of those for a very long time, but we are having a go building a Scandinavian high there on Sunday. However, the Atlantic is still too active to allow that to get going. And what happens through the early part of next week is that we get more low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, very intense polar vortex, battle winter. That continues around Greenland and Iceland through the early part of next week. But what this does do, it pulls in milder winds from the southwest. So early next week we'll get a push of milder temperatures, could lift the temperature up to mid-teens Celsius perhaps. Into middle next week, where we stay unsettled, quite showery, particularly so for northern parts of the country, and bringing like a flat westerly type flow. That's how we look up to day 10. Still relatively unsettled, particularly for the north and west. Driest weather with this will be in the south and the southeast. Moving through to the extended range, taking us up to the middle of March and beyond it. So we still continue to have relatively high pressure down to our south and southwest. So that could keep southern areas on the drier side. Looks a little bit more unsettled up in the north. By the time you get through to the very end of the GFS run, which is getting us to the 19th of March, then we are actually under a ridge of high pressure. However, we've also got this area of high pressure appearing around Newfoundland. And if we could run on any further, I suspect we would probably see these two highs merging together. And this low pressure just here will probably drop southeastwards, and that would probably introduce a cold northerly if we could go any further than Thursday the 19th of March. GM looks like that, so again rather showery for the end of the week and into the weekend. Low pressure keeps coming. Early next week we get these push of milder southwesterlies, so we do turn quite a bit milder through the early part of next week. And then heading up towards day 10, again we continue to have high pressure sitting to our south-southeast, low pressure is out to the northwest. It's a drier pattern for England and Wales, bit milder too there. Further north, still a little bit on the cool and showery side. ECM is looking like that, so rather showery at the end of the week and into the weekend. We stay pretty unsettled. This is probably a bout of wet and windy weather coming across the country Saturday through to Sunday. Early next week, here comes those push of milder southwesterly winds. A little bit less of a southwesterly with the ECM compared to the other two models. But early next week probably turns a bit milder. Still quite unsettled though. And then up to day 10, which is Friday the 13th of March, still looking quite unsettled, low pressure. It's heading in from off the Atlantic. This would be precipitation type forecast from that ECM run from Tometeo.com. So we've got wintry showers in the north and central areas today. Otherwise, it's drying south. Tomorrow, we bring a band of rain into parts of England and Wales. Could be a little bit of hail snow mixed in with that. Another sort of another area of rain sort of flirting with the far southern counties on Thursday. And then on Friday, band of patchy rain, field snow moves across the country. Notice how the rain bands are just lessened in intensity. It's still an unsettled pattern overall, but not the sort of deluge that we was getting with these rain bands during February. Then we move through to the weekend, and this is quite a band of wet and windy weather coming across the country. Excuse me, over the weekend. Could turn wet and windy for a time. Early next week, we're back to those showers, particularly in the north and west. I mean, another area of rain comes through by the 10th of March. A little bit of hill snow associated with that as well. And sort of showery moving up towards day 10. That's how long as we get to day 10. Another band of wet and windy weather coming into the northwest. So it remains changeable. It remains rather unsettled. Just the intensity of the rain bands and as they come through isn't as intense as we had during February. And there's a lot of showery interludes between these rain bands, which of course are, as ever with showers, hit and miss. These are options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. This gets us to the 13th of March. So we have 31 members of the ECM ensembles looking very unsettled. Low pressure is through the country at day 10. Going to be very unsettled with those, obviously. 20 with the low pressure just a little bit further northwards, just pushing the jet stream a bit further northwards. Still unsettled, particularly so for northern western parts of the country. Southern east areas closer to higher pressure over France could be a little bit drier, and that's probably a slightly milder option as well, as the winds will be pushing in from the southwest. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. So this gets us to the 18th of March. We have 24 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure just to our west. That's a continuation of unsettled conditions. 16 with low pressure to the east and high pressure to the west. So that could be starting to turn things drier, but would be cold. Winds will be in from the north with that. And then 11, it does include the ECM control run as well, that have a Scandinavian high by the time we get into the second half of March. They've got high pressure over Scandinavia, and they'll be bringing in probably quite a cold easterly wind. Of course, the further on into spring we go, the more we expect high pressure to get going over Scandinavia. Spring is the most easterly season. May is the most easterly month. So the further on we progress, the more we expect to lose the westerlies and the polar vortex and the pattern that's been driving away all the way through the autumn winter. We expect to lose that as we go further and further on into spring and pick up much more of a blocked easterly type setup, and that's purely cyclical. It's purely what happens in the spring as we lose that temperature contrast between the cold northern latitudes and the warm tropics. That temperature contrast is what drives westerlies a lot of the time. We lose that as we go through spring. Temperature lifts up in the northern latitudes, and so we weaken the westerly zonal flow. And that's why spring particularly tends to be the most easterly season of all, and May the most easterly month of all. So we shall see how that pans out over the next few days, of course. Finally, CFSV2, so these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 3rd to the 9th of March. The coming week looks quite chilly and unsettled. Low pressure in from the North Atlantic. Jet stream is a line northwest to southeast. We're probably on the cold side of the jet stream a lot of the time, so it will be quite chilly and still relatively unsettled. Week 2 is a 10th to the 16th of March, still unsettled, potentially very much so to the north of the country. Deep low pressure up there. The only difference is that with high pressure building to our south over Spain into France, we are bringing up a milder southwesterly push of winds. And then into week 3, it's the 17th to 23rd of March, with above average heights centred over just to the east of the country, below average heights out to the northwest. You will think a lot of dry weather with that, and hopefully relatively mild and spring-like temperatures. And then into week 4, which is the 24th to the 30th of March, we've got a big area of high pressure dominating the scene. So we've got high pressure ridging in from the Atlantic through the UK to northern parts of Europe. Low pressure is weakening up towards Greenland as well. So a bit of low pressure up there, but definitely weaker. And just looks very settled, that. A lot of dry weather on offer, you would have thought, into the second half of March, and potentially really spring-like temperatures as well. So it looks very nice, actually, what the CFS is showing for the second half of March. Obviously, there's a bit of doubt, a bit of uncertainty about that, as it was originally proposed by the CFS originally forecast that the early part of March would see this transition to high pressure. It looks like that's been pushed back to the second half of the month. The ECM is also showing those indications later into March we get high pressure. But, I mean, that was supposed to happen in the first half of March, now being pushed back to the second half of the month. So eventually we will go into a protracted spell of high pressure, undoubtedly. Just going to be when it happens, and will these long-range models pick up on it before it happens? We shall see. Right, that's it for your videos for today. Tomorrow we've got a 5-day forecast, have a week to 10-day video update tomorrow. I've got some pictures to share in that one tomorrow, so I'll get some of those pictures together that people have sent through to me on social media and the chat at Gaz, whether it's an email and etc, and we'll have a look at some of those pictures at the start of tomorrow's week to 10-day video update. That's all for now though, and thanks for watching.